Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Thank you for joining me for another, I guess, drinking and chatting video. Actually, it's not going to be just a drinking video. Based on a couple responses I've received in the messages over the last few videos, a couple of guys that have asked for this video inspired me and motivated me to create this sort of video. But, oh man. My wife and I went to the store a couple days ago and got some new groceries. And, I picked up a couple six packs. Well, one six pack, and I think this was like 15 pack or something. I don't know what it is. I can't stand beer in a can. I don't know if I don't know why, but I feel like it's made differently can to bottle. I only like beer in a bottle. And my wife, she looked at this natural ice. And who made this? Ice brewed for a smooth taste. No. When I drink this beer, I kind of feel like Gabriel Iglesias. So in one of his comedy specials, Fluffy, he went to Australia and he did comedy concert out there or whatnot. Not concert, but he did one of his little comedy skits out there. And after the sketch was over, he wanted to go visit the local pubs and whatnot. And he obviously wanting to fit in, right? So he goes and he orders beer that he thinks Australians drink. Well, what was a famous beer commercial, 20 years ago or so? I can't do the accent, so forgive me. Foster's, Australian for beer. God, that was so bad. But he goes to this pub and he orders Foster's beer, thinking it's an Australian beer. And so the bartender responds, you like the taste of piss, do you? Or however he did the little voice. And I'm like, man, I know exactly how he feels, because every time I drink this beer, I'm like, man, I feel like I'm drinking. It's just that bad. When I finally got that one bottle, that six pack I had last month, I was able to knock that out in like 15 minutes or so, which isn't great, but I mean, I'm not a drinker, so it's like, it's something different. But a canned beer, a little 12-ounce can, this damn thing will take me like 3 hours to finish, because it's not good. Oh, God. Enough of that, guys. So, video. What is this video about? Well, 2 years ago when I opened up this YouTube channel, one of the first thing I wanted to do on this channel, obviously after making the introduction video, was I wanted to do my favorite LJN tournament. Why? Because, over the months prior, I had been seeing probably 3, 4, maybe even 5 different content creators creating these LJN tournaments, and they were just so much freaking fun. I think it all started with New 80s Revolution, because he's really the only one who I can really say that I saw every episode of that tournament. But there was a female. Normally I save, if I like a video, I'll subscribe to a channel, even if I only see their one video over a 10-year period, right? And she had some amazing videos. I think she made it through like a few videos in the second series or something, but then it just kind of disappeared. It was gone. And there were a couple other guys I watched their videos too. Not as lengthy, but they were solid. And I'm like, man, that looked like so much fun. I kind of want to make my own video, see how I would choose. And I didn't want to just look at the figure like I like this better. No, I wanted to be able to share it with other folks, who might get a kick out of said tournament. Well, especially in early 2022, I was heavy in LJN, I was heavy in Hasbro, so a good chunk of my early videos basically centered around those two lines. So, obviously, I try to come up with different storylines, different ideas, so that I'm not basically talking about the same thing over and over again. If I make 100 videos about Hasbro, I wanted those 100 episodes to be unique. So one of the ideas I thought about was kind of looking at Hasbro, my favorite toy line from childhood, the most replicated toy line today, with Mattel Retros, Zombie Sailors, Rush Collectibles, Grapplers and Gimmicks. I mean, just everywhere. Figure Collection makes their own figures the same way. So it just shows it's the most beloved toy line ever. And one of the things that Hasbro was synonymous with doing was reutilizing the same exact body types over and over again. I think you only get up maybe 5 or 6 original body types in the entire line. And when you have over 90 figures and you only have like 6 body types, and one of those types is Yokozuna, and no other character has his body type, that just shows you how often those types of bodies are reutilized. So, at the time, I wanted to kind of look at the different action features and different body types that are utilized. First video I did was the arm punching motion. To say that video did poorly would be an understatement. I had to go back and rewatch that episode on my phone, on my computer, like 100,000 times just to get that thing up to like a solid view count. But I always wanted to continue on. I always wanted to look at the different body types. And I just didn't feel like it was something that a lot of people would have been interested in, so I kind of put it off for the last couple of years. Well, I kind of mentioned it in passing, and like I said, a couple guys reached out and said, hey, yeah, we'd love to see it. And you know what? I think if only one person tells me that they're interested in something, it'll motivate me to go ahead and make that video, because I want to make videos for the fans, for the viewers, right? So there's no point making videos that aren't going to appeal to other people, or, introduce other people to topics or lines or whatever the case might be. So that's why making these videos are so much fun for me. Well, I want to start off, we're going to go in order, and based on what I pulled, it looks like Hasbro created 9 particular figures for this particular body type. What am I talking about? I'm talking about the arm slamming motion for the action figures. Now, are all of them 100% identical? No. The Series 11 is a little bit different. Your Warlord's a little bit different, etc. But they're all generally the same exact body type. I did not pull the Mattel Retros that have this slamming motion, but I could make a video for the Mattel Retros too. That's perfectly fine, because they do the exact same thing Hasbro did. 1990, Series 1 release, you have to have Hulk Hogan. Why? He's your biggest superstar. Probably throughout the whole, I don't know how long WWF or WWF has been around. I think since like the 40s or 50s, maybe, if I had to guess. So, in all the history, there is no bigger superstar than Hulk Hogan. So, of course, he's going to be in that first series. Yeah, he's going to be in the second and the third series. Why? Because you need to have Hogan released. It's that simple. I had this Hulk Hogan figure as a kid. So, I guess because this was one of the easiest play poses to work with. It's not the whole Rick Rude arm punching thing, which we never had that figure, so I didn't even know about that until adulthood. So, I've always loved this figure. It's always been one of my absolute favorite figures. And in fact, nowadays, yeah, as an adult, and understanding that, yes, Hulk Hogan was a puncher, and having open hands like so, this isn't really the punching thing that you would like. You could still pretend to throw a punch with the open hand. I know it's not the same. That's why his Series 3 is so fantastic. But it doesn't take anything away from the figure. Hulk Hogan, this is, I don't know, I'd probably put this one number 2. I still think that the Series 3 has the best pose. Series 4, I don't mind the arm punching motion, but I think because this one has a shirt and it gives that extra aesthetic, that means a lot more to me. So, yeah, because I had this as a kid, and it was one of my most played with figures, I never cared if a figure had open hands like this. Yeah, I prefer closed fists, but this was perfectly fine. And what are you doing? You're picking them up and you're slamming them down, right? Low power slams. So, open hands, they make perfect sense. Hulk Hogan Series 1 was your first release with this particular body type. Also in Series 1, and just a shade different from Hogan, you've got Demolition Axe. You're going to see this very similar with like Warlord, where the shoulders are back some, and his back is pushed in a little bit, so not quite what you get from the other figures with this particular pose. But what are you looking at? Number one, you're looking at that arm slamming motion, right? That's the first thing you're noticing. The second thing is, of course, with the hands wide open. I don't mind them. When it comes to the Demolition Tag Team from Series 1, Demolition Smash I like better because he's got the pose that I covet the most. Smash, Honky Tonk Man, those type of guys. Even when you get like Jim Duggan, etc., those are fantastic. I like those close fists, arms in close. Yeah, and Smash, he's just, or it could be Axe, just a fantastic look. When I think of Demolition, and more importantly, when I think of Axe, this is the face, this is the paint scheme I'm familiar with. So when I got into collecting LJNs, and I see this dark red-faced Axe with like a devil look to him, I'm like, man, that is so unique. Did he wear that? I mean, at first, I had asked myself that. I mean, eventually, yeah. I've seen pictures and photographs and old videos with that look. But this is the only Axe I knew growing up. And one of my favorites, one of the best things that I really loved about the 1989 Royal Rumble is that I think Smash drew number 1 and then Axe drew number 2, or vice versa, I can't remember. But either way, having tag team partners draw the first 2 slots, and they did not hold back. They tore each other up until a third member joined the Rumble. And even then, man, they were still attacking each other throughout that match. Every man for himself, got it. But man, you just would think that, hey, smart thing is, go stand in a corner, let the next guy come in, beat him up, try to throw him out, double team him, and try to get rid of one at a time. Conserve your energy and whatnot. That didn't happen. And Demolition, they did okay. They didn't have a very long run in the Rumble, but it was still nice to see that. To my knowledge, I don't know if anyone ever has had tag team partners draw the first 2 slots like that. Alright, so we move on to Series 2, 1991, with the release of The Ultimate Warrior. I've said it a million times, guys. I never knew anything about Series 3 as a kid. I wasn't calling these Hasbro as a kid because I didn't know they were made by Hasbro. I wasn't breaking it down Series 1, Series 2, Series 10,090 because, again, as a kid, did we know what series was what? I barely could remember these as an adult. But no, I've been obsessively collecting them the last few years, so yeah, I pretty much know every figure from every series. But this was a perfect figure for me. Same thing as Hulk Hogan. Love the open hand and playability of this figure. One of my absolute favorites. For pretty much my entire life, this was my favorite Ultimate Warrior figure. Once I got into collecting, and I learned about the Series 3 Purple Warrior, yeah, there's no doubt the Purple Warrior, arguably one of the most perfect figures from any toy line ever made, ever, is going to be my number 1 selection. But this Warrior has meant so much from what, age 6 when 91 when these figures came out. Yeah, so that's Series 1 Hogan, Series 2 Warrior, huge pieces of my play during childhood. I don't know when I gave up, playing with wrestling figures. I want to say around 94, 95. That would have been about like 9 or 10 years old. I know when I turned 8, Power Rangers obviously became huge, and I became Power Rangers obsessed at that time. But I would, like, all my focus was on that and acquiring those toys and everything. But I never played with my Power Ranger toys. Even as a kid, I never played with them. They were always just, I grabbed them, either I kept them in the package and I put them on my shelf, or I took them out of the package and I displayed them openly. As far as play goes, these Hasbros and the few Galoob that we had were really the only other figures that we ever had that I actually used for play from childhood. So, this Warrior may not be my favorite anymore, but it's still a perfect figure in my opinion. Great, awesome look. I mean, the way that the tassels come off the arms and boots, this was so perfectly made. And the Warrior is just a legend, man. Love him, hate him, it doesn't matter. You can't deny what he meant to a lot of fans in late 80s, early 90s especially. So, that was number 2. There were no open hands in Series 3, so we move on to Series 4. Where you get the British Bulldog. I wasn't calling him Davy Boy or Davy Smith or anything like that as a kid. He was just simply the British Bulldog. And I don't even think I even knew of the British Bulldogs tag team. When? Until I started collecting LJNs. So this was always my British Bulldog. And arguably, this is one of my oldest memories. Not oldest, because oldest thinks, okay, this happened in 1990, I can remember it. This happened in 1998, I remember that. The 1990 is my oldest memory, right? No, one of my freshest memories, because, yeah, I know I had the Hogan. I know I had the Warrior, but do I actually remember utilizing them? I know I did, but I can't particularly point out anything particularly. Because these came out, 1992 was the Series 4 release. In 92, you had both Series 3 and Series 4 released, and these were the last set of figures that we got from Hasbro. The Ultimate, Bret Hart, Undertaker, British Bulldog, that was it. Those were our last 3 figures, which is a darn shame because that line was so much fun. And I would have loved to have known about all these other figures growing up. But the sad thing is, especially now, being a collector and knowing that all of those toys that we had as kids were thrown away or left behind or something. Maybe when my mom moved out of our house that I grew up in, maybe they were left in the cabinet or something and just didn't take them with. I don't know. So if I had all these figures from later on and knowing what the value of them, I think it's a little bit easier to swallow knowing that you had, a few Series 4 and a bunch of Series 1 and Series 2, which really aren't the most crazy expensive figures. So, but another one of those open hands and one of probably a top 7, top 8 action figures of my childhood. Again, Series 4 Bret and Series 4 Undertaker are probably the most commonly used Hasbro figures. Sid Vicious obviously is probably the number 1 most used figure ever from Galoob. And then Panthro from Thundercats was used so often. The bendable figure of Harry from Harry and the Hendersons was used probably more than anything. So easy top 8, I said. I think this is probably more like a top 5 of the most commonly used figure. Love Davey Boy Smith. British Bulldog is probably my number 7 all-time favorite wrestler. So, if I put him at number 7, I'd probably put Roddy Piper at number 8. And we already know Hogan, Warrior, Savage, top 3, with Bret, Shawn, and Undertaker at the next 3. So, one of my favorite pieces. Love this guy. Amazing. And what happened to him? I don't know if it was steroids that eventually took its hold on him, but he died, I think it was 39 or 41 or somewhere in that bracket, and I absolutely despise that. These men are professional athletes. They're in the best shape pretty much anyone out there. And all these guys dying super young. It's sad and it sickens me that they didn't get a chance to live a full life. So, another figure from Series 4 that I would have loved to have had as a kid. I don't think I ever knew about this particular tag team from childhood. Well, let me rephrase. I didn't know about this tag team being released on Hasbro back in the day. But we already know, man. Legion of Doom, if it's not the Rockers, Legion of Doom is probably my all-time favorite tag team. They were one of those just dynamic brute forces. When you look at teams like the Nasty Boys or Natural Disasters, right? Those are guys that you think would go back and forth with Legion of Doom for tag team titles, because I think that they were all evenly balanced. I think the Rockers were a great team to go against, like, let's say, like Heart Foundation. You know, that would have been like a nice back and forth. Or, you know, British Bulldogs and Heart Foundation, how they would go back and forth, what have you. Legion of Doom, I think it all had to do with the chest protectors and the spikes and everything. The massive face paint, which was amazing. I think it's too easy for anyone to say Legion of Doom is their favorite, because, I mean, honestly, as far as dominance and overall look, who's better? Demolition is close, most certainly. Funny story, I've talked about this in the past. So, Vince McMahon had always tried to get the Road Warriors into WWF. It wasn't happening. They were so over in AWA and then NWA, WCW, that wasn't going to happen. They were mega superstars. So, what did the WWF do? They created this tag team with Axe and, or was it Smash first? I forget who was who. But one of the original Demolition guys weren't the original member. It was like Moondog Rex was like the original member. I think he may have been Axe until the Edie guy replaced him as Axe. And of course, we know Smash, who would later go on to become Repo Man, of course. But they created Demolition and gave them this leather and painted faces because they wanted to imitate Road Warriors. And a few years later, when Legion of Doom finally came into WWF, fans didn't take to them as much because they just thought Legion of Doom was a ripoff of Demolition, who was a ripoff of Legion of Doom. So it's just funny how it goes for full circle. Awesome figure. For Legion of Doom, Hasbro, even though he has fused legs, I think I like the Hawk figure better for playability poses because he's got his hands up, out, you know, punching. So it's a little bit easier to work with than this one. But Legion of Doom, they look absolutely fantastic. Definitely some of the elite figures of this line. Moving on to Series 5, which was a 1993 release. And it was the first of a 1993 release. We've got Sid Justice. Now, clearly my Sid Vicious Galoob is my all-time personal favorite, but you can't go wrong with the Sid Justice from Hasbro. This was absolutely fantastic. A very simple paint scheme, right? But the fact that he does have a few mixed colors in there, it makes the figure pop a lot more. If this was just like all blue, it wouldn't have done too much for me. Or if it was all black, etc. Getting the black boots to go along with the white wristbands and the knee pads and blue trunks, that stuff, I mean, that offsets each other and it looks great. Nice, beautiful blonde hair on there. And again, this one doesn't work so well. A few of these figures I have down here are duplicates, so I really don't care if the actions work or not. Oh, that's not true. I do care, because I'm going to end up selling these duplicates, and you definitely want to see them work so you can get more money for the purchase. But anyways, yeah, but shoot, man, this is like a mint figure, though. If it wasn't for that stupid arms, this would be mint. Back to the figure. 1992. freaking coward Sid Justice throws Hulk Hogan over the ropes while he's in the process of eliminating someone else. But I kind of feel like Hulk Hogan or anyone else that does this type of thing where when someone eliminates them and then they reach over, grab their hand and try to drag them out, I think that's cowardice. And I think that's poor sportsmanship. I'm like, man, I don't want to think of Hogan as a sore loser. Like, you cost me the belt. I'm like, every man for himself. Everyone is trying to win the title. I mean, this 92 Rumble, I mean, that wasn't even, you win the Rumble, you go to WrestleMania to face the champion. No, you actually become the champion from that 92 Rumble. And, of course, Ric Flair just comes up. I highly doubt Ric Flair with his little body could lift Sid Justice. But, yeah, Ric Flair, number 3 entrant, champion. And I thought Hulk Hogan and Sid Justice had a pretty good WrestleMania 8. When Papa Shango comes out at the end and attacks Hogan, and then he's saved by the Ultimate Warrior in his return. I liked it. I didn't have any issues with that whatsoever. Sid Justice, again, a Series 5 release. They don't stop there because also in Series 5, you get the Warlord. Again, Powers of Pain Warlord, I'm not that familiar with. I've seen clips and videos and stuff as a kid, so I kind of knew about them already. But this Warlord, this is the Warlord that I can remember most. And obviously, being older at the time that this guy came out, yeah, I would be a lot more familiar with that. And the only difference that you really find between like this and the Hogan or the Warrior, when you kind of look at his back, the way it's arched, so his shoulders are all up and back, right? And so you can look at it from the side how his stance is. His back is all pushed in, his shoulders and back are all backwards, so it's not just a parallel surface. It's got this arch to it, but it's still generally the same figure with the open hands and the slamming motion. Plus, when you kind of look at the hands, at least like Hogan and all these others, the hands seem to be like out like so, right? But with Warlord, his hands are out like kind of like E.T. or something. So I don't like that aspect of the hand positioning or the arm positioning of a Warlord. Aesthetically, though, I think this is one of the best figures from Hasbro. If you get a nice clean figure where there's no paint fade or paint loss in the helmet or the chest protector or anything like that, yeah, I mean, the designs on here are absolutely spectacular. So, like I said, one of the easiest play poses to work with. I'm cool with this one. Series 5 Warlord. Now, it did skip a few series. 95 was the first of the 1993, and 6 and 7 were released in 93. No open hands in those series. The first release of 1994 was Series 8, and it included the narcissist Lex Luger. So you kind of go right back to the Hogan, Warrior, British Bulldog, etc., stance. And like I said, Hasbro is synonymous for reutilizing the exact same body types over and over again. And they kind of screwed themselves big time when they created Berserker. Because Berserker is modeled after a Jim Duggan. With a thumbs up and everything, it's like, no man, Berserker does not give you a thumbs up. So, that was kind of, annoying with that respect. But, the rest of these figures look amazing. In fact, I think I was talking to you guys about wanting to buy more Ram Treasures Galoob 2-ups because there's different paint schemes I really want. And I'm actually thinking about getting a Lex Luger paint scheme with this particular design. So, at one point, like, this figure was probably going for like $40 to $60. And I think even a mint figure today might go for $20. I mean, depending on who, like, if you're like, Mabel Toys, he's got like over 1,000 followers, so he might have like You might get like 40 bucks on this, but like if I were to put a mint figure up on auction starting at 99 cents, nah. You're probably looking at maybe $15 to $22 or something, which is a shame because this is a nice addition. And Series 8 to me is just barely behind Series 3 among the best figures of the entire line. So now the last figure we're going to look at is the last of the 1994 release, and it is a Series 11 Ludwig Borga. Here's the funny thing about Ludwig Borga. I was hearing that name when I started collecting the Hasbros, and I'm like, who the heck is Ludwig Borga? Like, for the life of me, I could not remember. When I saw the figure, I knew immediately who it was, to an extent. It's like the Carlos Colon figure from AWA Remco. I would know who that figure was strictly based off of the orange singlet he wore to the 92, 93 Royal Rumbles. This guy, Ludwig Borga, I would have never known who this is based on name, but I remembered his outfit. But that's pretty much all I remembered. The outfit looked familiar. I couldn't tell you where he was from, what his finisher was, what kind of wrestling techniques he had, who he had beef with, nothing like that. And I think he was from Finland. I don't know if he was actually from Finland or if that was just his gimmick, but I'm almost positive he was actually from Finland. I don't think he had a very long tenured career in the WWF, at least as Ludwig Borga. You know, there are a lot of guys like that, who you come in and think we're going to just dominate. You know, Bastion Booger was supposed to be a really fun one, and it was supposed to be like another Earthquake type or something, but they just made him gross and not really, and I've seen his matches. Bastion Booger was a terrible wrestler. You see guys like Yokozuna at 600 pounds move around the ring. He can bring it. Freaking Earthquake at 400 plus pounds. You see him jumping around the ring. I mean, there's no doubt that man had super talent. Bastion Booger was terrible. Another guy I saw, Minotaur. I thought Minotaur was pretty good. At least I like the gimmick. I don't know about the wrestling. I haven't seen enough of him to really be too invested. But Ludwig Borga, I don't remember a whole lot about him. But he does have one of the best figures of the entire Hasbro line. Way back when, an early portion of my channel, like episode 30, I think it was like episodes 28, 29, or 29, 30, something like that. So literally, like right towards the beginning of my channel, I did a top 10 most favorite and then a top 10 least favorite Hasbro figures. This one I definitely feel like should be up there, but Hasbro is just so deep with so many amazing figures. There's so many impossible decisions, and one of those decisions is keeping Ludwig Borga off the top 10. But that is 2, 4, 5, 8. That is 9 figures with the arm slamming motion. And if you guys like this video, or you guys are still invested and would like to see me talk more about the different figures for different body poses, I can definitely do that. It's another way for me to invest time in something that the viewers are interested in. If not, no worries. I mean, I could always find something to talk about. Not a big deal. Gotta go back to drinking the piss. It's funny. I was telling my wife today I wanted her to order me some more Krabby's alcoholic ginger beer. And I was talking about how disgusting that crap was in one of my videos. And now I want it back again. I don't know. I think because I watched that video so many times, and now I keep watching myself drink it. I'm like, damn, I want that beer now. But this stuff, this isn't good. In a bottle, it might taste better. I don't know. In cans, forget it. Ugh. Thank God it's almost gone. Shoot. Ugh. Well, guys, I just want to say thank you so much for watching. And tell me what you guys think in the comments if you'd like. If not, I will see you in the next video. Until then, thanks, guys.